So we got together a couple of years ago. Wayne Winsley, by the way, a good friend of mine, Wayne Winsley. We got together on the show, Wayne and a couple other friends and I. And at the end of the show, we looked at Wayne and we said, gee, we're so surprised that a conservative could be so interested in family values. Actually, it was a two-way street.
Exactly.
Both Wayne said the same thing. I can't believe, I'm so surprised that liberal progressives, whatever you want to call yourselves, are so interested in family values and the importance of raising a family, the importance of parents being strict and giving their children guidance and being parents rather than friends to their children. And voila, here we are, knowing that we all pretty much feel the same way in terms of family values, in terms of raising our kids, and the interaction between generations and family, and the importance of grandparents and all that. And that's where we were on that. And it was
absolutely.
It was just a lot of fun. Now today, Wayne is here. One of the things we're going to talk about is a nonprofit that Wayne started up that deals with motivating kids, and we all know how important that is. And I'm going to let Wayne take it from there and explain exactly what the nonprofit is and what his objectives are.
Well, my nonprofit partner is waterinnovations.org. It's the Water Innovations Foundation, and their idea, their mission is to help solve the world's water problems through next generation science and technology. And we got together because my program, Brave Enough to Fail, is a motivational program geared towards helping students have the courage to follow their own dreams, goals, and to see their education as a way to get there. So, by partnering together, we are not only looking to promote next generation science and technology, but we're cultivating the next generation of scientists and technologists from our own students, and that's really where the jobs of tomorrow are coming from: science, technology, engineering, math, things like that.
Absolutely.
And what we are doing, the Brave Enough to Fail program, we go into high schools, like our most recent one was Bridgeport's Harding High School.
Familiar with it, yep.
And we do the in-school motivational program. We give away copies of a hardcover inspirational photo book. The books are $15 a copy. They're really good hardcover books. It's called Where Are You Going? And it's an inspirational book to help with goal setting and things like that.
That sounds very similar to the book that you're probably, obviously, more technological than the book that your wife...
It is the book that my wife, April, published. Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
That seemed like
that
seemed like a book that was a little bit more geared toward younger kids rather than... It
works for everybody.
So it's multi-layered, and kids different ages can all approach it?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Adults look at that book and find a picture, that relates to them and a question that resonates with them. Well, in addition to the presentation and the book, what we do is we offer a scholarship that is geared toward that particular school. Going into a school with a great message, a great speech, that's one thing. That's nice, but it's okay.
We've all heard motivational speakers.
Exactly. And a nice book, okay, sure, that's nice too.
Yeah.
But going into school with a message and some money to sow into your dream, now that's different. That's real. And it's more powerful, more motivating. And the final piece is what we call exposure opportunities, where based on feedback from the students, we try to match them with opportunities to experience or learn about the field that they choose. If a student is interested in nursing, let's say, well, we give them information via the newsletter about careers and educational opportunities in nursing, but also we try to match them up with possible internships and opportunities to go and spend a day on the job and learn about it and see it.
And to know if their vision of that job is concrete, is exactly what they expected, or if there's things that would, well, I looked at it and I really don't like it now. Let's move on and try something else. That's a good idea.
Yeah. And really the key is to light the fire, of the dream, and then provide a bit of a launch pad to make that dream a reality. And and it caps off with, of course, the scholarship that is awarded to a student from that particular school, to help them actually get into college and make that dream a reality.
Now, one of the greatest fears we have in life is the fear of failure. So the notion that a person can be brave enough to not be concerned about small failures, as long as those small failures incrementally lead to finding a goal, to finding what they're looking for. Try things out.
Yeah, and the thing we say is brave enough to fail, because success requires courage. Whether it's in business, running for office, anything. If you are afraid to fail, you're going to stay home. You're not going to try. And
that's
anything,
that's a sad thing to not risk, to not take the risk.
And if you think about it, Steve, fear of failure isn't natural. We're not born with it. It's how babies learn to walk.
Yeah.
Watching a baby learn to walk.
Trial and
they
error.
Take a step and they fall down and they cry, they get up and they try again and they fail and they try and try again until they get it right. And then nothing in the house is safe.
That's when the locks go on, the cabinet doors.
Exactly. But if you think about it, we are all born with the ability to try, fail, try again, and succeed. And that's all. The brave enough to fail message is built on that principle, that your dreams are worth trying for. Your success is valuable.
So where are you now with this foundation, and where are you going? What's next?
Well, we are now in the fundraising stage, obviously, trying to get our budget to bring our program to schools. Our goal for this school year is to reach 50 high schools, which would put us in front of over 15,000 students. That's our goal. Right now, Connecticut has the largest educational achievement gap in the nation, especially between minorities and low-income families, students from low-income families, in comparison to their more affluent peers.
I think it's not a racial thing. It's more of an economic.
Yeah,
thing. Because kids,
absolutely.
Because kids that grow up in wealthy homes have all these advantages. Not that they shouldn't have those advantages; they should, but the kids that don't grow up with those advantages need to have some outside assistance and stimulation.
Absolutely.
So they can do great things too.
Yeah, and the irony that I ran into when putting this together is that while there are motivational programs out there, there are some that are geared towards high schools and things like that.
Yep.
They're all for profit. You can pay, your school, you can pay to have a speaker come and motivate your kids. However, the schools where something like that is needed most and would be most beneficial have no money for such things.
They don't have the funds to accomplish that goal.
So the Brave Enough to Fail program is absolutely free to high schools and students. The books are free, the presentations are free, and we pay for it thanks to the goodness of some great Americans who support the program, and grants and things like that we're applying for. And that's where the partnership with the Water Innovations Foundation came in, and they looked at what we were doing and said, we'd love to help with this. And that's, to me, one of the greatest things about our country is that this is a nation full of people that if they see you doing the right thing, we see people at work, people will help you. Absolutely. Not because they have to, not because, whatever, but because that's who we are. And, it's kind of like you.
Private people coupling with government to accomplish good things.
Absolutely, And, you are, like, personally, like one of those people that, like, you've looked at, like, what I was doing, what other people are doing, and you're one of those people that reach out and have always been willing to help people that are doing the right thing, and that's, like I said, that's one of the things I love about this country. I'm off the patriotic soapbox, I'm done.
But aren't we all patriotic?
Absolutely.
Across the political spectrum. We might have different ways of accomplishing the same goals, but we all want the same things.
Absolutely.
Right, Rich? That's Just say right. Okay, good, thanks. So Can you tell us any more specific insights into things, tangible things that you've done so far? Narrative stories?
Oh, absolutely. One story I have this off the top of my head, a young man from New Haven. And we did the program. First of all, the reaction from the schools, we underestimated the need for something like this. I did not know, but 40% of students are chronically disengaged, unmotivated. And
Sounds like typical teenagers.
Well, yeah, but the sad truth is, when it comes to our education, we spend billions and billions of dollars, and the truth is, there isn't a program in the world, government or otherwise, that can make your child study if he or she doesn't want to. The Brave Enough to Fail program tries to spark that want to by simply showing how having the courage to follow your dreams is important, and investing yourself in your own education might be a way to help you get what you want. We make it about the student. Yeah. It's what's in it for you. Well, there was musical
furthermore.
But the one student out of New Haven was interested in finance, wanted to be a stockbroker, things like that. Well, we were able to, because of this program, have him spend a day in New York City at a private investment firm. And to actually get to see how it worked. The CEO of the company actually spent a couple hours with them, touring them around and everything. That's that kind of opportunity this young man would never have been able to get otherwise. Would never. And those are the kinds of things that we're able to do. And that's what we want to do on a grander scale with the Brave Enough to Fail program. So I'm going to encourage folks to go to the website, look at all the information.
Waterinnovations.org.
Yes. Yep. And learn all about the program. There's a little video there and everything like that. But the idea of being able to make a positive impact that might change the trajectory of one kid's life, that is just so cool to me.
Yeah.
When I stand on stage, I never know, if my speech that day, if the program that day is going to actually change the life of somebody, but the idea that it could, is for me is just that it's a blessing that I even get to do that, and so that's what we are really focused on right now, and with the help of people in your audience and people throughout the state, we're going to be able to do a lot of good for a lot of young people.
Excellent.
And that's really how we're going to get our country back on track to where it used to be and where we should be. The more we are able to have students come out of school who are motivated, responsible, self-determined individuals, well, that's how you get engaged, responsible citizens. That's where your employers are going to come to hire. Those are going to be the people opening our new businesses and taking the wheel of this great country, down the road.
Now, if you can accomplish that, and those of us on from my group, my core groups, can work on, for instance, getting rid of all these lousy free trade agreements that sap jobs out of our country and send them elsewhere, and all the other things, and keeping Wall Street in check, and all these other fine things that we're working on. You combine all those, and every part of it can work together to make the next generation feel more worthwhile. Of course, getting rid of all the iPods and all the other distractions probably wouldn't hurt either.
I don't think the iPod's going anywhere, unfortunately.
That's just a continuing
but it
battle.
Is interesting that you mentioned the whole thing about some of the trade agreements and things that we have. I read a story. It was either yesterday or the day before. It was very recently, though. Yeah. It was about the economy in Mexico, and they are opening. They're opening car manufacturing plants in Mexico like candy stores.
Yeah.
And I'm reading the article, and I'm thinking, there's where the jobs went. And all I could hear, I'm telling you, I swear I heard Ross Perot saying, "You hear that big sucking sound? That's your jobs going to Mexico." And I'm like, oh.
And he was right in that respect. And every president since then has been part and parcel to these ever widening and ever expanding trade agreements, where other countries don't have the same environmental laws as we do, although they certainly should. They don't have the labor standards, safety on the job, or any of the other things that we have in America, as they should, like we should. And they just and they undercut the competition, and literally people start up these capital firms in America, and what they're basically doing is they're buying and chopping up businesses. And they end up exporting jobs because it makes money for them, and they don't. I don't think they're looking at the overall picture of the danger to our country of doing this.
One thing that I was looking at and looking at stories like that, even in this conversation, while we may not be able to compete with the lower labor costs, and certainly we can't compete with the either lack of environmental laws in other countries.
China's finally getting on the boat with that because they're drowning in smog.
Right.
And if they don't find out, if they don't realize that and do something about it really quick, they're going to be in a very bad long-term health situation.
Absolutely. But one place that we can compete and is in the area of turning out quality workers, quality, educated, and prepared and qualified workers, the workforce. That's been the backbone of America, was that good old American know-how. Well, we can start doing that again. When I talk to students in high schools and I tell them, chemical engineer, for instance, first year, right out of school. Average salary between $60,000 and $80,000 a year. Well, that's not Walmart money. Yeah, no offense to Walmart, great company.
You can offend Walmart, please do. Please do. We all love to offend Walmart, and the fact that they, in the case of Connecticut, this obviously I think is going to change under the Affordable Care Act and under the exchange in Connecticut. But Walmart they give their employees early on. They give them training in how to suck off the proverbial teat of Connecticut taxpayers for their health care, because Walmart doesn't provide it.
Right. But my point was that if we start turning out engineers, people in information technology, things like that, science, technology, engineering, that is where we are way behind when it comes to a lot of other countries, so-called developed countries and developing countries. Well, that's where the jobs of today and tomorrow are, and that's where we like to focus and encourage the students that we speak to with the Brave Enough to Fail program. We just remind them, by the way, if you are interested, these are some of the opportunities that are available to you. These are some of the areas where this is where the money is. Now, not everyone is a mathematician or an engineer. I am certainly not. I am gifted elsewhere, but the options are there. And
there are plenty of kids that hadn't considered that that they may find when they take a look and look into these fields. They might find out that that they know a lot more and have a lot more potential than they thought they may have had.
Absolutely. And my thing is, I want to use my gift as a communicator to help more of our young people discover and use their gifts. At the end of the day, that's what I'm all about. That's what gets me up in the morning. That's why I'm passionate.
It's a great motivator.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm hoping that folks will go and check out waterinnovations.org and look at what we're doing. Help us if you can. And tell people. Steve, I want to thank you.
Pass the word.
Yeah.
We'll spend a couple minutes on. We talked a little bit before the show about speaking of Walmart, and health care.
Yes.
We have an exchange here in Connecticut. We were fortunate enough to have a legislature that set up an exchange. Unfortunately, most of the states in America did not. So they're having to go through the main trunk channel to sign up for health care, and that was overwhelmed from day one. I think it's coming along a little bit now. But Connecticut was fortunate enough to have an exchange in place. And just to relate a brief story that I've shared with other people before, but I went without health care coverage for about 15 years because Diane and I, we had a policy that was about $1,000 a month, 15 years earlier, $1,000 a month, which was basically a major medical policy. It was a $10,000 deductible, and then there were deductibles after that. The first $10,000 was on us, and we're paying $1,000 a month. So we figured we'll take a different approach. I saw my doctor twice a year, so I kept up on my health. Diane had all her necessary checks done, like we'll have now under the Affordable Care Act, under Obamacare. You have all your wellness visits are covered.
Okay.
And that's 90% of the battle of preventative medicine is catching something early on.
Okay.
By means of doing normal routine checks. So anyway, January 1st rolls around, and Kristen and I have Kristen is my wife now. Have the
congratulations, by the way, because you weren't married last time we talked. Okay.
Well, we sort of kind of are now. I'm not sure. We've been together for 3.5 years, so I guess that's as good as married.
Okay.
So at least we consider it that way. But anyway, so we were signed up, and instead of $1,000 a month, it's about $900 and some odd dollars a month. And for that, we have a good policy. We have health care coverage, myself for the first time in 15 years. And lo and behold, January 2nd, I felt the heaviness on my chest.
Wow.
And ended up calling the doctor. And I actually had had it for a while. And I was kind of watching the calendar for January 1st when the health care coverage kicked in. This causes a lot of problems where people will tough it out. They'll say, look, I don't have health care coverage, so maybe if I ignore it, maybe it'll go away. And you don't catch something until it's so far progressed that it becomes much more expensive.
Right.
Or worse, the person dies. So I woke up, I had the pressure on my chest, called the doctor. The doctor said, go to the hospital. Bottom line was I had blood clots in my lungs. And I was in the hospital for a week, which is a lot of money. There's no two ways about it. But between the small deductible and everything else, I'm taken care of. I had it treated, and I'm doing fine again. And I have a medication that I'm on, warfarin, which I think is the generic Coumadin. And here I am alive, whereas I might not have been if I had toughed it out a little while longer.
Right.
So thank you, President Obama, and thank you, Congress, for passing what, granted, was not a very good plan. We all felt that the plan that should have been in effect from day one was Medicare for all. Medicare works fine for the portion of the population that it covers, but they have great buying power, so they get their prescriptions for a much lower price. Except, unfortunately, our friend here in Connecticut, Joe Lieberman, said that any plan that had a public option attached to it, he would filibuster on the floor of the Senate till he was no longer a senator, which thankfully finally happened. So at any rate,
so obviously you are a big fan of Obamacare. Okay.
Not just from a personal standpoint, but I know now that people can get coverage. They can get a reasonably priced coverage, contrary to what some of the naysayers will tell you. You can get good coverage. You get coverage that, as I say, takes care of routine exams.
Okay.
Without any question, those are taken care of, and that's the most important part, preventative medicine. And this is what separates all the other countries in the world that have, what's the bugaboo word, socialized medicine. They take care of their people in a more preventative medicine way, and because of that, people live people live longer, and the stats are there to prove it. Other countries, all these other countries that have socialized medicine, greater longevity, lower infant mortality rates, better health, quality of life, all the important standards, they're better at than we are. But at least we're taking a step in the right direction.
Okay. I'm not a fan of Obamacare. Less because I'm certainly not adverse to you being around a little bit longer.
Thank you.
Not at all. My problem with it is I believe that we could have gone about this in a much better way.
I wish we had heard it. I wish we had heard it from my Eisenhower Republicans, who are unfortunately now the tiny minority of the Republican Party.
I am of the idea that if you're going to get rid of Obamacare, we have to offer a workable solution. And then
I'd love to see something better.
Is where we,
and I think that Medicare for All that's the better solution. But if there are other solutions, bring them on. I'd love to hear them.
Yeah.
We need to have people covered. We need to have preventative medicine, a focus on preventative medicine. Like, what, about a minute? Okay. Kaiser Permanente in California, which is one of the big healthcare providers, at least in California. They own the front end and the rear end. They own the healthcare portion, and they also own the hospital portion. So they know that if they do a good job on the healthcare portion, then they save money on the hospital end. Shorter stays in the hospital, less expensive procedures, and having both ends of it, that works for them, and that's the kind of thing we need to see, I think, in America. And with that, we're going to have to call it a day, call it a show.
So you and I should both run for Congress at the same time. We can get some stuff done. I can work with you.
I wonder if you can have dual candidates on. Okay. Thanks for joining us. Good night.
Thanks.
Wayne Winsley, waterinnovations.org. Thank you.